John Arthur Getrew was born on August 26, 1944, in Newark, Ohio, a quiet town where neighbors knew each other and secrets rarely stayed hidden. But John's childhood was anything but stable. His father, a U.S. Army serviceman, moved the family constantly: Japan, Hawaii, North Carolina, new schools, new faces, new identities. From the outside, John seemed like any other military kid, adaptable, quiet, observant. But beneath that surface, something darker was forming. Constant relocation meant he never built lasting friendships. Isolation became normal. He learned early how to blend in and how to disappear emotionally. By 1960, the family relocated again, this time to West Germany. The Cold War era brought American families overseas, creating small, tightly knit communities of military dependents. John attended Bad Kreuznach American High School, where students lived in a bubble of American culture, far from home. He wasn't particularly popular, but he wasn't invisible either. Teachers described him as average. Classmates remembered him as reserved, sometimes awkward, sometimes intense. As graduation approached in 1963, excitement filled the school. A dance was planned: music, laughter, celebration. For most students, it was a night to remember. For one girl, it would be her last. Her name was Margaret Williams. She was just 15 years old, the daughter of an Army chaplain, kind, bright, and full of life. That night, she crossed paths with John Getrew. No one could have known what was about to happen. The music faded. The dance ended. Students drifted off in groups, laughing and talking under the dim lights of the campus. Margaret Williams didn't go home. Instead, she left with John. Witnesses later recalled seeing them together, walking toward the school's baseball field. It seemed harmless at the time. Two teenagers after a dance. But what happened next would haunt that community forever. On that quiet field, far from the noise and safety of others, John attacked her. He assaulted her brutally. When she resisted, he escalated the violence, beating her, causing severe head trauma. Margaret didn't die instantly. She suffered. And then she was gone. When her body was found, shock rippled through the military community. This wasn't supposed to happen here, not in their protected world. Investigators quickly pieced together her last known movements. Witnesses had seen her with John. He became the prime suspect almost immediately. At first, he denied everything. Then, under pressure, his story changed. He admitted to being with her, admitted to sexual contact, but he insisted he didn't kill her. The evidence told a different story. In 1964, John Getrew was convicted and sentenced to 10 years in prison, the maximum allowed under German law at the time. In court, he showed remorse. He apologized to Margaret's family. Some believed him. They thought justice had been served. They were wrong. After serving just over 6 years, John was released. He returned to the United States, not as a convicted killer in the eyes of those around him, but as a man starting fresh. He settled in Reno, Nevada. He married a woman named Susan. To her, he was just John, quiet, hard-working, trying to build a life. Soon, they moved to Palo Alto, California. On the surface, everything looked normal. He worked various jobs: security guard, carpenter, lab technician. Nothing glamorous, but enough to blend into society. That was his strength, blending in. In the early 1970s, Palo Alto was a growing, vibrant area near Stanford University. Students, professionals, young women walking freely. Opportunity. John joined the Boy Scouts as a counselor, a trusted role, a position that gave him access, respect, and credibility. No one suspected the truth. No one knew what he had done in Germany, and no one realized he hadn't changed. February 13th, 1973. Leslie Perloff, a 21-year-old Stanford graduate, disappeared. She was intelligent, driven, and full of promise. She worked at a law firm and had her whole life ahead of her. That day, she never made it home. 3 days later, her body was discovered near the Stanford Dish hiking trail. Fully clothed, but signs of a struggle were clear. She had been sexually assaulted, strangled with her own scarf. The brutality shocked investigators, but despite their efforts, they had no suspect, no arrest. The case went cold. For decades, Leslie's family lived without answers. Her name became another unsolved case, a life reduced to a file gathering dust. But her killer was still out there, watching, waiting. Just over a year later, it happened again. March 1974. Janet Taylor, also 21, was last seen trying to hitchhike home from college. She never arrived. The next day, her body was found in a roadside ditch. The similarities were chilling. Sexual assault, strangulation, a young woman, alone, targeted. Investigators suspected a pattern, but without evidence, they couldn't connect the crimes. Again, no suspect. Again, silence. John Gautreaux continued his life uninterrupted. He remarried, had children, became involved in his community. To neighbors, he was respectable. To authorities, he was invisible. In 1975, John was caught again, but not for murder. He was charged with sexually abusing a 17-year-old girl. This time, he was convicted, but received a relatively minor sentence. His wife divorced him. Still, he moved on, remarried again, built a new life in Ohio, started businesses, raised children. People described him as normal, friendly, even likable. That's what made it terrifying, because beneath that calm exterior was a man who had taken lives and gotten away with it. For decades, he lived freely, while families mourned, while cases remained unsolved, while justice slept. Everything changed in 2018. Advancements in DNA technology, specifically genetic genealogy, gave investigators a new tool. They revisited old evidence from Leslie Perloff's case. DNA was extracted, a profile was built, and then a match: John Arthur Gautreaux. After 45 years, the truth surfaced. He was arrested at his home in Hayward, California. Soon after, additional testing linked him to Janet Taylor's murder. The quiet, respected man was finally exposed, a serial killer hiding in plain sight. Everything changed in 2018. Advancements in DNA technology, specifically genetic genealogy, gave investigators a new tool. They revisited old evidence from Leslie Perloff's case. DNA was extracted, a profile was built, and then a match: John Arthur Gautreaux. After 45 years, the truth surfaced. He was arrested at his home in Hayward, California. Soon after, additional testing linked him to Janet Taylor's murder. The quiet, respected man was finally exposed, a serial killer hiding in plain sight. Some killers hide in the shadows. Others hide in plain sight. John Gautreaux was the latter, a man who smiled, worked, married, and killed. His story is a reminder. Sometimes evil doesn't look like a monster. Sometimes it looks normal.